Welcome back to another thrilling episode of Clown World with Francis Foster.
Mate, who else do you have on this show? Why are you introducing me? You literally have no one else on this show.
Yeah, it's sort of like Triggernometry with the Scottish guy.
Yeah.
Instead of Constantine. But yeah, no, it's great to have you back. Next time I will get someone else just to prove you wrong. And today we're going to be talking about deportations in America, lefties crying about it, Elon Musk trying to effect regime change in the UK and in Germany and hopefully in a lot of Europe, NHS Midwives being taught about colonialism instead of how to get babies out of someone's fanny. We're going to talk about a teacher forced into hiding by Muslims in the UK. That's still a thing that's going on.
Great times.
We're going to talk about is DEI actually going? We're going to talk about fatphobia in Lyft drivers. Lyft is like a sort of Uber type thing. And also, could nuclear war be good for Britain? We're also going to have a Clown World extra episode on my Patreon where we talk about grooming gangs, the furore and the motives around the Southport killer, and asylum seekers outside school. So that's the stuff that's maybe a little bit too spicy for YouTube. And I should point out, me and Francis are doing a couple of comedy shows.
We are indeed on the 4th and 11th of this, not this month, of next month, or whenever this goes out.
Just call it February.
February, that's the one. We're doing it on the 4th and 11th of February at the Hammersmith Comedy Club. Yeah. There's not many tickets left.
there's not many tickets sold.
So yeah, come along.
It's on a Tuesday.
It's on a Tuesday,
I think Tuesday puts people off, but yeah, I mean, come along. People are always saying to me, "Oh, when do you do any live shows anymore?" And then you put on a live show and nobody wants to come. I mean, some people want to come. Last time we did it, we sold out.
Yeah, exactly.
But that was a Thursday or a Friday or something.
It was a Thursday and a Friday.
Yeah. So I think it's different this time.
Yeah,
but
it's tougher. But you moan that there's no real comedy. What are you going to do anyway? Yeah. You all work on Zoom. None of you do any real work. Shut up. Calm down. Tuesday.
Yeah. And also we do comedy. Well, I do. Francis is quite run of the mill, but I do comedy that really pushes the boundaries of what's acceptable to say. I do comedy that somebody from Hope Not Hate could pour over and misrepresent in court to make me look like a bad person.
Your comedy is controversial because it doesn't have punchlines.
It's a fair comment. Anyway, enough slandering each other's characters. Let's talk about Trump. It's been like a couple of weeks since Trump. No, how long is it?
It's January 20th he got sworn in.
It's only 10 days.
Yes.
In fact, it's not even 10 days.
No, it's not.
It's 9 days.
It's 9 days.
It's 9 days, and it feels like he's achieved more than the Tories achieved in 14 years.
I mean, that's not saying a lot.
Yeah, but it's funny that when the Tories got in, they did absolutely nothing to sort of affect any. I know the rules are different in America, and the new administration gets to appoint the sort of civil service leaders it needs. But man, they've gone for a complete, slash and burn, root and branch reform of the civil service to make sure it does what they want it to do. And they've hit the ground running with deportations. In fact, a lot of people have hit the ground running because of the deportations. It's kind of, the thing that shocked me about it is how little pushback there's been against it.
Well, I think when I was in America, because I was in America at the time of the election, and I talked to people and I was asking them, and this is everywhere, California, Texas, and New York. But I made sure I talked to Uber drivers, people working coffee shops, bars, whatever else. And I was like...
So what Francis is saying is he gets Ubers and he also buys coffee.
Yeah, exactly. Because that's what happens when you make it on YouTube. You can afford Ubers and coffee, which is not something you can afford if you're a comedian on the circuit. However, every single person I spoke to said two things. They were like, I'm voting for Trump.
Yeah.
But also, most of them were like, look, I wasn't a Trump supporter before, but the reality is the Dems have driven this country into the ground.
Yeah.
The border is non-existent. It's porous to the point that there's no border, and our economy's in the toilet.
Yeah.
And that's what they said: economy and border.
Yeah. And also, I think the cultural stuff. People talk, the culture wars. Nobody really cares. I think people do care a bit when it's like transgender people getting their boobs out on the White House lawn. I mean, that's a real sort of. There should be some dignity in politics, what I mean? Maybe we could just keep the fake transgender boobs,
Were they good boobs?
Obviously, they're made in a laboratory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're better than women's boobs.
Yeah, maybe I rewound the video to be disgusted a few too many times. But no, there were. I mean, it was just like, it was one of those things. It's like, you know, fair enough. You want to do like everything the Democrats did was all like, you know, like an advert break.
Yeah.
It was all so like, it was like a Disney film. Like they're just cramming in all the like, you know, all the woke stuff, all the stuff that, you know, it's like nobody was saying like, you know, oh, you can't have interracial relationships, or, you know, you can't have
There's
2
a
months
few.
or whatever. But like the Democrats made it no, you can only have, you know what I mean? And it was just like their Christmas card message. The video that they did for that was just like, man, it was like a Jaguar advert. You know what I mean? And it's like, come on, can't you just have? Why do you have a veteran? Why don't you have somebody like that instead of like, you know, some transgender Papua New Guinean shoving carrots up their ass? Like, just can't we have some sort of?
Mate, that would crush on OnlyFans.
Yeah, it probably would.
Yeah,
It probably would.
yeah. And look, you know, the thing was with the Democrats is, like you said, it wasn't even a parody of itself. It got to the point where you're just going, like, I don't even know what your policies are anymore.
Yeah.
Like, did anybody know what Kamala Harris's policies really were?
Yeah, and she didn't herself, and that's why she couldn't do debates, because, you know, she would have been like, if there's a team behind you making all the decisions, you can't speak about, you know, what you're going to do because you haven't checked it with the team.
Absolutely. And, you know, I thought it was a really important moment when she refused to go on Rogan's podcast.
Yeah.
Because they were like saying, oh, we can do it and blah, blah, blah. But if you actually look at previous candidates, let's say Obama was a candidate.
Yeah.
He would have crushed it on Rogan's podcast.
Yeah.
He would have done sleeves rolled up, would have got a cigar out, had a chat. He would have been brilliant. He would have been same with Clinton, provided they didn't get onto the sex stuff.
Which Clinton?
Yeah, Bill. But, you know, even Hillary would have been better than Kamala.
Yeah.
So
even Biden. You know, he was fucking. It turns out he was apparently senile like the first week of his presidency. Never mind, like, and that was given. Bear in mind, like, right up until the end, that was a far right conspiracy theory.
I was talking at a party to a former Washington journalist, political journalist, and he was saying it was an open secret in 2019 that he was suffering from serious neurodecognitive decline.
Neurodecognitive.
I've got the same thing. Neurocognitive decline. So you just go like, oh, right. So you just got somebody who was basically incapable of functioning and putting them in the most important job in the world. Why not?
Yeah.
You wouldn't trust this guy to drive a car, but you trust him to drive a country?
Yeah. And I guess their excuse would be, well, look, we've got an amazing team behind him, but it's like, man, no, I want somebody who can go into a meeting with Putin and crush him. And Trump is getting on a bit. Trump's not as, you know, it doesn't always sound as sharp as he did, but you know he could go into a meeting with Putin and crush him. And also, the great thing about Trump, and the thing that's kind of inspiring, and I hope European leaders, I hope British leaders, future leaders pick up on this, is he's strong. He's not weak. He's saying, like, man, I think that today they announced like there's a reshuffle or the collapse of the Colombian government. Because Trump went to war with him. Like they rejected deportation flights. Yeah. And so Trump was like, right, I'm slamming tariffs on you. So they immediately backtracked, which is, you know, they shat their pants. Total weakness on the side of the Colombian government. But Trump's resolute. There's no sort of pussyfooting around or tiptoeing around like, you know, Starmer with the Chagos Islands or Starmer with any, you know, oh, we can't do this. Or the Tories, any British leader, oh, we can't do this. Oh, we can't forcibly deport people back to Pakistan because, oh, they said that we can't send the rapists back there. It's like, man, just tell them they're not getting any more aid and we're ending all visas, which we should end anyway. We're ending all visas unless you take these people back.
You've been spending a lot of time at GB News. But no, look, I agree with you. And the thing is, it's like, it comes to a point where you go, how can we have leaders who are so spineless and pathetic and weak?
Yeah.
How long can we keep on with this?
It's almost as if they're a reflection of the British people.
Mate, we're trying to sell some fucking tickets, all right? Yeah. But look, you look at Starmer and you look at Trump.
Yeah.
Trump shagged a porn star.
Yeah.
Can you imagine Starmer shagging a porn star?
Ooh, he'd apologise afterwards.
Yeah,
you know what
exactly.
I mean? He'd apologise during.
Yeah, it would be appalling.
Yeah.
He wouldn't be able to do it.
Yeah.
He wouldn't be.
And also, like, the thing I love about Trump shagging the porn star is, like, man, this guy gets such a good deal. You know, Bill Clinton shagged, what was it, Paula Jones? I mean, he shagged a few people, but, you know, one of them was old enough to press charges. But, you know, Paula Jones, she sued him or whatever, and he got, like, and he had to pay her $850,000 as a sort of, you know, hush money thing to make it go away. And she wasn't even hot.
No.
She wasn't even hot, you know what I mean? Like, Stormy Daniels, like, objectively
Yes.
good at shagging, because she's a professional shagger.
She is a professional shagger. Made millions out of it.
Made millions out of it because people want to see her naked, people want to see her getting shagged.
Yeah.
Trump has sex with her. He has sex with one of the top shaggers in the world.
Yeah.
So that's already a win. Then she like goes after him for money.
Yeah.
And ends up, he like gets such a good deal out of it that she ends up having to pay him money. If that's not, man, that's the guy you want going into negotiate with Xi Jinping.
How many people get paid to shag a porn star and it not be recorded?
Exactly. yeah. Although it was kind of probably publicised a bit more than your average porn star shagging. So.
It's true, but also when you look at it, and this is the thing that people miss.
Yeah.
Trump's sober.
Yeah.
He shagged a porn star sober.
Yeah.
What kind of fucking lunatic does that? At the age of 62, 3 years off getting his bus pass.
Yeah. No excuse.
No.
It can't be like, oh, sorry, honey, I was hammered.
Yeah.
No, he shagged a porn star.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sober.
Sober.
No one's done that.
What a man. what a man.
Can you imagine Starmer?
Yeah. Oh, God. Like
Justin Trudeau.
I can imagine Justin Trudeau shagging a gay porn star. Yeah.
Yeah, a gay one.
Yeah. And man, have you noticed Justin Trudeau looks an awful lot like Fidel Castro, and apparently, like, there's photos of his mum and Fidel Castro being very chummy in the like 60s or whatever. So there's rumours. I don't know. I'm just saying. You know, that happens a lot. Look at Braveheart. You know that documentary.
Yeah. The Scottish documentary,
Yeah.
which basically the SNP based all their policies on.
Yeah, actually, man, I wrote
apart from the trans one.
When I was at university, I wrote a paper on how Braveheart actually changed the political landscape for Scotland. There was two things that changed that made us say we voted yes to a referendum on something. It wasn't independence. It was something, devolution maybe.
Yeah.
But we voted yes because Scotland qualified for the World Cup. I mean, for Scotland, just getting in.
Yeah.
You don't need to win.
Yeah.
You don't even need to win a single game, but if you qualify, that's an incredible national achievement. And also Braveheart, like, resulted in this big sort of swell of national pride.
It just shows Scots are retards.
I don't think they're that smart myself. But look at this. Look at this video of Tom Homan, who's the border czar.
Yeah.
Are you treating migrants humanely?
Yes.
But there's been reports of them on planes with no water,
That was a bunch of
complaining.
crap. That was a bunch of crap.
What do you mean a bunch of crap?
ICE detention facilities have the highest detention standards in the industry. Any of the ICE standards, our detention standards are higher than any state or federal or local facility in the nation, in the world. Someone should go to the ICE website, look at PBNDS11, performance-based detention standards, and look at our detention standards.
All right, he's getting into the terminology now.
Yeah.
But this, I mean, I just think it's kind of amazing how, you know, there's this assumption that if they went after illegal migrants, they'd be like, you know, everybody would have this sort of massive upheaval of disgust at the fact that people are getting deported, and everybody's like, no, these illegal migrants should be deported.
Yeah.
I'm slightly concerned about the impact it's going to have on the economy, because I don't know if you've seen this, but like there's been a few people posting stuff about so this is a building site that's like empty. Only 8 out of 43 guys showed up for work. But I mean, we're in a transition period where we transition to having sort of, you know, illegal migration that was just widely accepted being replaced with legal migration.
Yeah.
And I think it's much better to, you know, have it done properly. Although I've got to say, to be honest, America probably gets more culturally assimilable migrants, and, you know, maybe a slightly more culturally assimilable. That's probably the most polite way of putting it than Britain, because in America you're getting Hispanic people coming up from Central and South America mostly, rather than people coming from like real medieval cultures.
Well, look, I mean, what's really interesting is you go to Texas, and Texas is pretty much Mexico.
Right.
It used to be Mexico. That's why
it's
got. That's they got Santa Fe. That's why it's called. They got towns like San Antonio.
Calexico.
Yeah, exactly. So you're there, and you're like, all right, this is pretty Mexican already. But also as well, like the food those boys bring, incredible.
Man, that is just such a normie thing. It's like, oh, but the food.
The food.
Man, we got the recipes, Francis.
No, but I hate to point it out. Look, white people aren't good at cooking.
That's another bollocks fucking piece of shit.
What English
argument.
speak? No, English
Are you
speak.
joking? How come? We're back. People always say, there's no spice in white people's food. Oh, white people's food is so bland. Man, you had Worcester sauce. Go drink a bottle of Worcester sauce. Tell me it's fucking bland. You ever had that Coleman's mustard? Eat a jar of Coleman's mustard. Tell me that there's no spicy food in Britain. You know what I mean? Honestly. I bet you could get you could get the most Mexican in the world, and you could make him eat a teaspoon of Coleman's mustard.
Mate, I know those boys.
Ay, amigo! Oh, my ring piece, so spicy.
Look, I'm going to be honest with you. Like, English food, shit, apart from the desserts, where it's the best in the world.
Well, like bread and butter pudding and
Oh,
stuff.
mate, incredible. Apple crumble.
Yeah.
Any type of crumble. Sticky toffee pudding
Sticky toffee pudding's a good one.
is amazing.
Spotted dick.
Spotted dick.
Francis loves a bit of spotted dick.
I do love a bit of spotted dick.
Up his ass.
I was going to say in my mouth, but you say that. Look, so, and this is actually more and more why I kind of think, and this is controversial to say, I voted Remain, so did you.
Yeah.
I think this is partly the fault of Brexit, man.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
I think this is genuinely part of the fault of Brexit.
Yeah.
Because if you look at when we were in the European Union, we had literally almost half of immigration.
Oh,
and
and also it tended to be Polish, Romanian, stuff like
Yeah.
that. So people are culturally more similar.
Yeah.
To
Exactly, and and so culturally more similar. So you're looking at it and going, actually, was leaving the EU a good thing?
Well, and also the other thing that Brexit did was it sort of took the wind out of the right sails because they had a big win. They became all the failings of their win got pointed out and got blamed on the right. Even though Brexit basically didn't happen. We had all the bad stuff from Brexit. We had all the we've sort of decoupled a lot of our regulation and legislation from the EU. So there's a huge amount of bureaucracy and all the rest of it that's had to be done. We're sort of missing. Being part of that trading bloc, and we're paying more for stuff like chorizo or whatever. So we've got the bad stuff, but we haven't had any of the good stuff. You know what I mean? We haven't become a Singapore. If anything, we've become like a shittier, more socialist country. It's the opposite of what Brexit intended.
Yeah, and you're looking, and again, I voted Remain, so this isn't my fault. But you look at it, because when Boris Johnson came in, not enough people talk about this.
Yeah.
He signed, he basically agreed to have 1 million people come in.
Yeah. And the man, Boris Johnson, like to squander that opportunity. Like, you think if you were voted in as leader of the UK, would you fuck about? Would you piss about? Would you take it as as sort of light-hearted and, and be worrying about the... more focused on your next job that's going to make you all the money? Like, I don't know, I just feel like, we need conviction politicians. Someone like, Rupert Lowe would be an amazing Prime Minister because he's doing it out of the, for the pure love of the country.
Yeah. So it's a great point. And I just think, actually, when we talk about immigration, and because what Brexit was it was a referendum on immigration.
Yeah.
That's actually what it was.
We should have had a referendum on immigration instead of Brexit, because Brexit became about something else, and it obviously didn't do anything to improve the situation with immigration. And not that I'm like I'm not an anti-immigration guy. I just think like having like 1.2 million people in a year, it's like, and you keep doing that. That's just madness. And then, like, people are like, oh, but look at the net figures, it's only 700,000. It's like 700,000 is still unsustainable. And also, you got to think, we're having 1.2 million in, and then like 500,000 are leaving. Who are the people who are leaving? The people who are leaving are the ones you want to stay. They're the rich ones, the ones who can afford to leave. The British dream is now to make enough money to be able to leave Britain and move somewhere where you don't get taxed right to the fucking hilt to pay for, you know, other people. Like people coming in to take the welfare state and just lazy lefties and lazy people in this country. And also the bloated civil service, the bloated state. So, man, you got all the sort of people who you want to stay leaving, and people coming in who, you know, we're just not vetting like we used to. Like, my uncle's from India, and he came here like end of the 60s, start of the 70s, and he's a really smart guy. He's a good guy. He's like, he's culturally actually, you know, really aligned, really sees himself as part of Britain. And even though, you know, he's got his Hindu culture and whatever, like he sees himself really as British, and he raised amazing kids. He's contributed to society. That's good immigration, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then people have taken that, they've looked at that and said, well, immigration clearly works, so let's just let anybody come in. And it's like, no, because then you're getting people who aren't, you know, who don't want to work and graft and contribute and see themselves as British. You're getting people coming in and taking the piss.
Well, it's not even that, mate, because that is part of it. But let's say you imported 1.2 million people who actually were all wanting to work and assimilate. You would that doesn't work like that. If you import 1.2 million human beings, naturally tribal, you're going to cluster amongst your own groups of people. It's just how it is. You look at British people in Benidorm or whatever else. There's no fucking Spanish people there.
Yeah.
Because that's just how people are. So if you import that volume of people, they're not going to assimilate. Can you imagine this? Here's a thought experiment for you. Imagine we only imported hot women.
Now that is actually, I mean, I do a bit about that. I think you do as well. Like, you know, if it was like hot Somalian babes coming across, like nobody would have a problem. Like, anti-immigration isn't like racist; it's sexist.
Yeah.
Like, and that's honestly the way it kind of should be. I think that would work. You don't get any women going and like committing terror atrocities. I mean, maybe occasionally, but it would drastically reduce the amount of, you know, all that kind of stuff. You wouldn't get women-led, you know, grooming gangs or anything like that.
No.
And you know, if you did, it wouldn't be as bad. Like, it wouldn't be, you know, if you got a anyway. But yeah, like for some reason we're just getting almost completely young males.
Well, look, you know, what has actually happened? The more I think about this, the more I've come to this conclusion is that Brexit has failed. You could say it's betrayed, and there's definitely an argument to be made for that. But whatever happened, it hasn't worked. EU immigration was actually better. The amount was still unsustainable, and people were quite right to push back against that and be frustrated with that. But the reality is what we've actually got now, and I think this is, looking at it nearly 10 years on, which is where we are, is that it's actually been a failure, I think.
No. Like Brexit's been a total failure. Like you said, we should have had a referendum on immigration because that's what it was. And I think, you know, imagine if they did announce a referendum on immigration, and imagine what the result would be. And I see people saying, oh, democracy is failing, it's being undermined by Elon Musk and stuff. And it's like, no, democracy is being undermined by the fact that our elected leaders aren't enacting the will of the people.
I don't think it's even that, Leo. The leaders that I've spoken to, the Suella Bravermans or the Liz Trusses have actually said, and maybe this is a cop-out, which is they can't enact the will of the people because every time they try and put something through, they try and get the civil service to enact it. Yeah. The civil service just push it back because they're all like left liberal.
But the civil service are part of the sort of, you know, the apparatus doing everything.
Yeah.
So what the people want isn't getting done. We're instead getting ruled by, you know, this woke blob that controls everything. I understand, you know, the civil service, you know, shouldn't veer too wildly from administration to administration because you need some sort of ballast to keep the ship on an even keel. But it's just completely like it's listing over to the left way too much. And it's sort of completely beholden to this like woke ideology that isn't at all what most people in the country subscribe to. You know what I mean? And you see in America, everybody thought that, you know, oh no, it's such a woke country. Trump stuff is going to be really unpopular. There's going to be mass demonstrations, and you know the civil service won't enact it. And yet they are. Everybody loves it. You know what I mean? Trump's approval ratings are going up as more people find out what Trump is actually standing for. You know, now that the sort of all the propaganda and all the bullshit has died away and people can see what Trump's actually doing, people are like, no, this is great. This is a really good idea.
Well, you know, the thing is, it's we've got to the point now where Americans have. I don't think we've got to it in this country because we're different culturally.
Yeah.
But people have got to it where like, I don't actually care if you're a bit of a cunt, which we all know Trump is. I just want you to be able to run something effectively.
Yeah.
That's all I care about. I don't have to be your mate. I don't have to like you. I don't have to agree with you about certain things. It's got to the point now where I cannot bear it that this country is being run into the ground.
Yeah. And also he's honest. Like people say Trump lies, but he doesn't really lie because you know what he means. Like when he says the Haitians are eating cats and dogs, like there might have been one cat eaten or something like that. That's not really the main issue. That's not the main issue. But what he's saying about the Haitians coming in and, you know, disrupt, you know, you can imagine the social upheaval of, you know, just airdropping 20,000 Haitian migrants on a small town. It's sort of what he says about the cats and dogs is emblematic of that. And the way he talks about other countries, he's like, you know, no, we're gonna force Saudi Arabia to do this. We're gonna go in, we're gonna do these tariffs. People are like, oh, he's so cruel, he's blah blah blah. It's like he's just being honest. Like, do you want him to be standing there like saying some bullshit platitudes like, you know, China's our greatest friend and ally? Like, no, I like the fact that he's just completely open and transparent about the sort of realpolitik, you know, the whole sort of global interplay and the sort of strategy of forcing nations to do what you want. Yeah.
It's really interesting what he's doing in the Middle East, you know, and with the ceasefire.
Yeah.
Because actually, that's not a great deal for Israel.
No. I mean, they were totally winning that, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And what he's going to be doing, it's going to be interesting to see if he's going to be able to, and his team are going to be able to negotiate a peace deal between Zelensky and Putin. Yeah. I mean, he's doing better than Biden, who got the two mixed up.
Yeah. When this is the thing, everybody was like, oh, Trump's in the pocket of Putin, he's just going to roll over and let Putin... Absolutely, the opposite is true. Yeah. You know what I mean? Putin is now shitting himself. Trump has announced, like, because Putin's economy is teetering. And once the economy falls off a cliff, it's already like the rubles, you know, just the inflation's getting run away. They've used all the tools that they can to sort of control the economy and make sure it doesn't, you know, inflation doesn't run away, and you know, and people can still afford to go and buy stuff. Once the economy falls off a cliff, you know, that's it for Putin. And Trump's like, and the one thing propping the economy up is Russia is still exporting oil, and it's also been exporting, you know, oil and gas to Europe. And if it hasn't been exporting directly, it's been exporting to India or China, who can then, you know, circumvent it and sell it to Europe or sell it to whoever, as you know. So it reduces the amount of money Russia gets, but they're still exporting. Trump's come in and he's just like, no, we're gonna flood the market with cheap oil, and we're gonna destroy the Russian oil economy. And, you know, combine that with, like, Ukraine for the last few months has had this strategy of develop these long-range drones. Yeah. And they're just taking out every refinery, every oil export and storage hub in Russia. And, like, man, I've got a Russian refinery bingo card. This is the sort of thing I do in my spare time.
You've got a what?
A Russian refinery bingo card. And they're taking out they've taken out like nearly half the refineries.
Your wife must look at you like you're fucking mental.
Oh, she doesn't know I've got a Russian refinery bingo card. I'm actually a sponsor. I sponsor a Ukrainian drone thing, but like I cancelled my Amnesty International thing, and now I sponsor a Ukrainian drone place instead. Although that might breach international sanctions, I don't know.
Russian refinery bingo.
So yeah, man, Trump's gonna go in there. He's not gonna, because the one thing about Trump, you know, people are like, oh, he's too reactive. He's got an ego and all the rest of it. That's actually a kind of good thing, because Trump doesn't want to look like a pussy. He doesn't want anybody to think, oh, Putin's got one over on me. So he's gonna like absolutely nail Putin to the wall with whatever terms of the deal. I mean, he doesn't want Zelensky to do that either, but Realistically as well, like Ukraine is a pretty important strategic asset for the US and for Europe. So, and also I think it's right for Trump to sort of force Europe to, pick up the slack with Ukraine. Because, man, Europe has set €1 trillion aside for net zero, which basically means crappy communism, extra bureaucracy and stuff.
But what it means is
50 billion for Ukraine, and it's like, man, which is the greater existential threat right now? You know what I mean?
Well, what net zero effectively is the destruction of our economy.
Yeah,
that's actually what it is, and people aren't awake to it. So now, what it means is deindustrialization.
Yep.
What it means offshoring. People go, oh my God, look at the energy. We're net zero. Yeah, all that means is we're getting poor kids in Colombia to mine our coal and then ship it over here.
Yeah. Or make the trinkets and stuff in China or wherever, and then ship it here. And it's like, oh, we didn't burn any carbon to make this. No, you burnt the carbon in China, and then somebody had to ship it here, which burnt more carbon.
Exactly. So all it really is, in many ways, is creative accountancy.
Yeah.
So that's all. And people don't understand that the energy bills that they're getting, a lot of it is because we have these ineffective, inefficient ways of producing energy.
Yeah.
They're talking about blackouts.
Yeah. Rolling brownouts and stuff is mental.
Yeah.
In 2025 in the UK.
Yeah. They're going, there's probably going to be a blackout.
Yeah.
It's just like, what the... And it's just like, that's fine.
Yeah,
how is that...
And some days, like the other day, it was really windy because we had these storms. So obviously when it's windy, you can't generate electricity from the wind because...
What?
Yeah, seriously. When it gets too windy, they've got to turn those turbines off because it's too windy for them. They've got like, there's a sweet spot when it's like blowing a bit, but not blowing too much, when they can generate electricity from wind.
Oh, that was my thought. When I saw it, I'm like, mate, we're going to have enough wind. We're going to have enough electricity to last a day.
No. So like, and I'm a big fan of renewables. I think it's a great idea in theory, but like, man, we had to burn so much gas to generate enough electricity that day. It's ridiculous. And man, energy should be with the technology we've got now. Energy should be basically free. You know what I mean? We've got like solar is getting so cheap, so insanely cheap, and also nuclear. And nuclear, like we're building like Sizewell B or whatever, which is like this big multi-billion pound reactor, and it's great. We're going to have another nuclear reactor. Rolls-Royce make these modular reactors that you can get up and running like in a very short space of time. Their sort of main market isn't even, you can use them for the grid, but you can also, if you got like a Bitcoin mining center, then you can use them for that. And with this technology, electricity should be basically free. You know what I mean? Because we've got these rocks we can get out of the ground that have all this like energy in them, and you just put one little tiny bit of it in this reactor. It's like the car at the end of Back to the Future.
Yeah.
When it comes flying in, and he puts like a banana peel in it. Well, like that, but with uranium.
But and then you go like, just the way that we're talking about this, and I don't think people understand that part of the reason we're so screwed, a large part of it, is because we're making retarded decisions.
Yeah.
We're making retarded decisions.
Francis thinks he can say that word now.
Yeah.
He's saying it.
Yeah, I can say it because I am retarded. It's my word. Yeah, it is. It's a pass. But you look at... I was talking to this economist a few weeks ago who said that on current projections, Poland is going to have a higher level of GDP by 2030.
Yeah.
And then... I think it's in 10 years, Hungary and Romania are going to overtake us.
Yeah.
We're going to become a fucking stag do destination.
Yeah. No.
That's all we're going to get.
We already are.
Yeah. They're going to come over here and piss in our fountains.
Oh, man. No, it's ridiculous. And what's his name? The guy, the head of BlackRock, is it Larry Fink? One of these top hedge fund guys. I saw a clip of him. He was talking about how countries that actually have a xenophobic immigration policy are going to be doing better because of automation.
Yeah.
So the GDP per person is, if you got an infinitely elastic labour market because you just bring people in to work in the jobs or whatever, nobody's going to bother investing in automation and investing in these processes that'll actually increase GDP per person. So Britain, by having an open border, has sort of condemned itself to falling behind other countries. Whereas Hungary doesn't have that open border thing. They've got the opposite. So they have no terror, they have no grooming gangs, and they're going to have a better economy than us.
Yeah,
possibly.
Possibly.
according to you.
Yeah. I was talking to this economist. He was like, yeah, the thing is, we're just a low growth, low wage economy.
Yeah.
And you
could fix it.
Yeah.
You could fix it. The only reason it's low growth, low wage is because and people are like, oh, but we've got these jobs that need to be filled. And it's like, number one, do we need to fill them? Like, is it absolutely essential that somebody delivers pizzas for 70p an hour? Like, couldn't people just walk down to the shop and get their own fucking pizza?
Let's not get ahead of ourselves, mate.
In the medieval times, we used to walk down and get our own. No, I mean, it's possible. So number one, I don't think all jobs need to be done. I think, you know, like that's a fallacy that, you know, all jobs need to be filled. I think the jobs are there to provide work for the people. The people aren't there to provide work for the jobs. And I can't remember what the second thing was, but I'm sure it was very.
You know, the problem is, it's just a lot of these jobs, you know, they're just not paying enough.
Yeah, and that's because people come in and work for. If you want, and this is why, you know, Bernie Sanders, Jeremy Corbyn back in the day as well, all the socialist leaders, all the trade union leaders were all about like limiting immigration because they knew it reduced the bargaining power of the British worker. Because you can't say, oh no, you got to pay me £10 an hour if there's a guy over there who'll do it for 70p an hour.
Yeah, exactly. But that, you know, that's what. It's so interesting. You know, you look at Mick Lynch, who's now retired, and like everybody on the progressive left. Mick Lynch, if you don't know, he's a former head of a trade union. I think it's the RMT, Railway Trade Union.
Eyebrows.
Yeah, exactly. Now, people were just going, oh, isn't he great, whatever else. And look, by the way, I think he did a very good job for his members, whatever.
Yeah.
But they were like, isn't he amazing, isn't he? Mick Lynch voted Brexit.
Yeah.
Look at his face.
Yeah.
You couldn't get a more Brexit guy than that. That is pure gammon. And you know, the moment he voted Brexit, all the progressive left were like, he's a racist, he's evil, we hate. But now, like whatever it is, 8 years down the line, everyone gets their fucking dicks out over him.
Yeah. And like, man, Europe, the whole European project, all the sort of lefties, all the proper sort of old school lefties totally opposed. They totally opposed, like, you know, us being part of Europe and having this sort of big open market for, because it breaks the power of the trade unions.
Of course it does.
Which is one of the good things about being part of Europe. One of the reasons I voted Remain.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I really think the sort of the liberalisation of society and the like our economic liberalisation, it's obviously been great for maybe like society overall, and it's been great for the middle classes, and obviously, you know, people who are even richer than the middle classes. Because you got the freedom to go and like work where you want, freedom to marry who you want and stuff. But all the sort of structures that, you know, looked after people and guided people and kept people safe, they've all been ripped away. And like middle class people got the resources and the know-how to sort of deal with that and make their own decisions. But then you see, man, you look at the underclass and there's people just completely lost and floundering and taking drugs, and, you know, you look at the victims of, you know, grooming gangs and stuff like that, and it's like, man, we've done away with all the sort of social structures that would have kept those kids safe and, you know, made sure that there was custodians and guardians and people guiding them. And, you know, I just think, man, something's gone really wrong with British society, and especially at the sort of underclass level. I mean, where we are right now, I used to be a criminal intelligence analyst for, this is the sort of posh end of the borough, but you know, over the other side of the borough, there was I couldn't believe it, the deprivation there, and there was like, I mean, there was a heroin addict dad who was pimping his own daughter out to get money for drugs, and it's like, that's the sort of, you know, I'm sure stuff like that wasn't happening, you know, 100 years ago.
Yeah.
Like, it's not, like the liberalisation of society means that people can get access to methamphetamine and heroin and stuff, but like, some people don't cope well with freedom and with autonomy.
No.
Like, if you look at Lily Phillips and Bonnie Blue, it's like women get autonomy, get sexual freedom.
This is what happens. We need Sharia. We need Sharia.
I mean, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm being judgmental.
Do you think the Taliban would let a woman walk down the street with cum on her face? Do you reckon Abdul and those boys would? No.
I mean, it's not the cum on the face that I'm worried about. It's the other cum.
Yeah.
It's the, you know, and like the 1,000 guys. I don't know. And it's not even like sex is some sort of, it's completely changed. It's even when you watch porn, you got to like really dig through it to find something sexy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? None of it's sexy anymore. It's all just this real performative, like functional, like woman getting banged on a sofa in a warehouse. It's not, you know.
Yeah, but this is what happens. But this is what happens when you get rid of gatekeepers. Do you remember you had the porn companies and they were the ones that deciding if, like, you know, everybody in our space goes, isn't it great that we've got rid of gatekeepers? Then you see some people on the internet and you're like, you know, maybe we need them. You know, maybe we do need them. Maybe it's a good idea. You know, you see some of these people like Dan Blitzerian, who's got millions of followers, you know, and then he goes, you know, I don't think the Holocaust happened. And you're going, yeah. Maybe I don't need to hear your voice, mate.
Yeah, I mean, maybe some of that is a sort of reaction to I don't know. It's weird watching it though. It's weird watching it, and especially for somebody like Dan. What's he called? Dan Bilzerian. Because wasn't he a poker player?
Yeah.
And like a sort of pickup guy.
Yeah.
And then like he's commenting about the Holocaust.
Yeah.
And it's like,
those are transferable skills.
Why has he done this like Kanye West sort of like, I'm a billionaire, I'm gonna self-immolate in this way. You know what I mean? I don't know. I'm steering clear of that whole issue.
What issue? Whether the Holocaust actually happened?
I definitely think it happened. I definitely think it happened.
So what do you mean?
No, but the sort of the world order that it's used to justify and propagate, and all the political decisions that it's sort of used to, or has been used to justify.
Like what? What are we talking about?
Why are you asking me about this?
Because I don't know what the hell you're talking about.
I don't want you to know what I'm talking about. I want this to be my secret inside my head thoughts. We're not allowed to talk about this shit.
What? Hang on a second. You've just admitted that you've got, what's it called? Oil refinery bingo.
Yeah.
It can't be any more weird than that.
No, but like, I mean, if you look at the Holodomor in Ukraine, the sort of their version of the Holocaust caused by the Soviet Union. How come the Soviet Union is still sort of held up as this sort of harmless, benign? Oh, it was just Uncle Joe Stalin. Oh, they're all so cuddly wuddly, and
because they helped to save our arse during World War II.
Yeah, but did they? I mean,
they kind of did.
Yeah, but look at Britain now. I mean, like.
I'm not. By the way, there's people. I am not pro-Soviet Union or communist or whatever.
Yeah.
But it is a historical fact that they did help.
Yeah.
During World War II, they were an ally.
They helped defeat the Nazis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they liberated Auschwitz. Were they the ones who liberated Auschwitz? I think it was the Red Army who liberated Auschwitz.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess that would make sense because it was in Poland.
That's why Dan Bilzerian is anti-communist.
Right.
Yeah.
Is he Polish?
No, he's Armenian, I think.
Oh, right.
Yeah. But no, that's part of the reason. That's a big part of the reason.
Yeah.
And it's also as well, there's always been a part of the intellectual left have always been pro-communist.
Yeah. But I just find it really weird how, people can be members of the British Communist Party and it's like, how come that guy's not in jail?
Yeah.
How come these British Communist Party guys aren't in jail for their, if somebody joined the Nazi Party or something, they'd be in jail.
Why are we getting discriminated against and they're not? Do you know what I mean? One salute, all of a sudden, I don't have a job.
That's an interest. So Elon Musk.
Yeah.
Elon Musk got in trouble for doing, what people are describing as a Nazi salute.
Yeah.
He was like that, my heart goes out, and then he did kind of.
Yeah.
It was quite a vociferous, quite a forceful. It wasn't like. Yeah. I wasn't seeing the heart going out. You think the heart goes out like this?
Yeah.
But still, I mean, he fucking waved his arm. Who gives a shit? You know what I mean? It was like, oh, he's a Nazi. Oh my god.
But it's just so stupid because if you look at, he basically created the first real division in the MAGA movement.
With the H-1B thing.
Which was the H-1B thing, where
He's pro-immigration.
which shows he's pro-immigration. His argument is America needs the brightest and best in order for it to grow and flourish and prosper economically.
You know what he was really saying?
What?
He's like, my companies need cheaper labour.
From India.
Yeah.
All right.
That's what he's saying. That's why we've got, who do you think is making money off mass immigration? Because mass immigration doesn't just provide you with cheap labour, it also inflates the prices of assets, such fixed assets especially, like housing. Because you've got more people here, so there's more competition for the available housing. So if you're a rich guy who owns property, lots of property and factories, you're fucking winning on both sides of the equation.
Absolutely. So, but my point is something else. My point is that stance when it comes to immigration is fundamentally incompatible with being a Nazi, because one thing you want as a Nazi is an ethno-state.
Yeah.
So like you can't hold these two ideas, and so you get all these people criticising him, and you're just going, come on, can we just be honest? You can criticise Musk on plenty of things, actually, but that's so stupid.
But I guess the words, Nazi and fascist have just been completely stripped of any sort of meaning. Like, like fascism is, the total state. Mussolini said, nothing but the state. So the state runs everything, and quite often fascism has some sort of ethno-state thing as well. But it's essentially big government, and all big governments, naturally drift into authoritarianism. So when Trump comes in and slashes the size of the state, that's an anti-fascist move.
Yeah.
And if you're an anti-fascist, you should be proud of that. The thing is, all the people who say they're anti-fascist are actually communist, and communist is total state, so they're fascists.
Yeah.
The whole stuff is like arse about tit.
Yeah, it is, and it's because people use words without knowing what they mean. Like people who scream about everything is fascist, yet also scream at the fact that if you don't take a vaccine, and then that they want the government to impose laws where if you don't take the vaccine, you can't go for a piss. You know what I mean? And you go, well, that's fascism, because what you want is for the state to have control over its citizens' bodies.
Yeah.
That's literal fascism.
Yeah.
So you...
Like, what, you're going to stop Bonnie Blue having sex with 1,000 men? That's fascism. It is interesting, like a lot of the old school feminists, like Julie Bindel, who would have been like, the patriarchy, men controlling women's bodies, are now like, we need somebody to control these women's bodies. They're self-harming. And it's...
Well, she blamed men, didn't she?
Yeah,
she said the men should be arrested.
Yeah. Oh man, did you see that other thing? Did you see the Guardian? The Guardian had an article that says, this is the headline. Yeah. No, the Southport killer's motive is not difficult to comprehend. It's called misogyny. It's called misogyny. So, like, they're saying, this is it, Axel Rudikabana didn't target Boy Scouts. He targeted women and girls because they were vulnerable and easy prey. Now, I'd agree with that.
Yeah, of course.
By Axel Rudikabana's own words, he never said anything about, like, we need to have a femicide, we need to wipe out girls, we need to wipe out women. What he did say was Britain needs a white genocide, which is pretty explicitly anti-white racist. You can imagine if a white guy had said, we need to have a black genocide or whatever, and then like went and shot up, a barber shop at 4 a.m. or something like that. You know what I mean? Then people wouldn't be making excuses for him saying, oh no, he hates men.
Yeah.
It's really weird that, the left, because the trouble with Axel Rudikabana for the left is that he is aligned with them on the anti-white stuff, the decolonialism. His reading list was like, a university course. So this is why the left are trying to pivot away and say, oh no, he's not motivated by any particular ideology, when he kind of said he was. Yeah,
it's interesting. But then I also find it interesting that you look at a lot of the times with people with these types of terrorists, it's like, like the Manchester bombings, there does seem this kind of desire to target little girls.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think the issue is, it's just awful. The entire, everything about the way that this was handled was terrible and appalling. The fact, why is it that the truth about this only came out now?
Yeah.
If we'd actually been honest, if Starmer and the government had actually been honest about the person, and look, there is an argument to be made.
Could have defused the situation at the time.
But there's also an argument to be made that he didn't want to prejudice the court case.
But I've seen this so many times. They're like, "Oh no, we couldn't release any information about it because we would have prejudiced the trial." As if the judge would have been like, "Oh, well, we can't have a trial because somebody said that."
Yeah.
You know, Axel would be walking the streets. Absolute fucking nonsense. The judge can just turn around and say, "Disregard what you read in that newspaper article. This is the evidence to take into account." Say that to the jury.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, that argument. I mean, yes, there are. You've got to be careful reporting on stuff. Before, after somebody's been charged and before they go to trial. But when it's in the public interest, especially when there's stuff like so you had ricin, you had these biological weapons, incredibly deadly. To not tell the public that there's this risk that there's ricin in your neighbourhood.
Yeah. There was a neighbour who was very upset because her cat died as a result of it.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yeah, her cat died as a result of it. Her cat went into the garden where the police were doing the investigation and had suffered ricin poisoning.
Are you serious? And so that cat could have taken the ricin back and and then killed.
Yeah.
That's mental.
Yeah.
Fuck, I had no idea.
Yeah. So I was reading an article about this where the neighbour was, number one, distraught because their pet had died, but number two, it's why weren't any of us told?
Yeah, yeah.
This guy was literally manufacturing biological weapons next door to me.
Yeah.
And none of us were told about that?
Yeah. And apparently we couldn't be told about it because, it could prejudice the trial and he'll walk free. Man, absolute bollocks. There's a clear public interest to reveal that. There's a clear public interest to reveal information to stop the rioting. It's almost as if Keir wanted the rioting so he could then bring through powers to persecute his political opponents. And if you look at what Keir's saying now, he's all like, he's not saying, we need to clamp down on anti-white rhetoric. We need to clamp down on academia and left-wing media banging on about decolonialism and reparations and white privilege and all this sort of stuff. Because that's the stuff Axel Ruda-Cabana was reading. He was reading a lot of this sort of, the stories of colonial atrocities.
Yeah.
Obviously to sort of, anger himself. That's, it was his sort of outrage porn. So
should have just watched Bonnie Blue.
So, well, they're not clamping down on that sort of anti-white stuff. Instead, Starmer's come out and said, this is loner misfits on the internet, watching violent content. So he's pivoted away to, who's going to be targeted with that is going to be people who they say are white supremacists or fascists or whatever.
Yeah, I don't think it was, I don't think it was in any way orchestrated. I don't think anyone could have predicted what happened.
Man, of course he could have predicted.
No.
Man, I could have predicted.
The riots, or the scale of the riots, Leo.
Oh, the riots.
Yeah,
right.
the scale
I thought
of
you
it.
meant Axel Ruda-Cabana.
No. I'm talking about the scale of the riots and people's outrage over it.
Yeah.
I don't think you could have predicted it,
That's an interesting point actually, because after the Manchester Arena bombing, there wasn't that outrage.
No.
And I was almost sort of disgusted by the fact that people were all like, "Don't look back in anger" and stuff, and it's and they always seem to
tattooing bees on themselves.
Yeah, and it's like, no, maybe we should look back in anger, and maybe we should do something to make sure this doesn't ever happen again. Because I don't know if it's because people in Britain aren't having children anymore, but we don't seem to value children anymore. There seems to be an infinite amount of British children who can get raped or killed or whatever, and people are just like, don't look back in anger. And it's like, no, fucking stop it happening.
Yeah. Look, it's a really good point, and I don't think that people could have predicted, because also we forget. Last summer, I remember when the riots are happening, and I remember looking at it and saying to Constantine at the time, all it needs is something else.
Yeah.
Another type of attack. Do you remember that girl got stabbed in Leicester Square?
Yeah.
And the moment it happened, I thought, shit, because if this is like an Islamist terror incident, then the whole country is going to go up in flames.
Yeah.
And that was a moment where I was worried, and I think the government were legitimately shitting themselves, which is why. But
in fact, at the Southport vigil, before it, kicked off, the catalyst for it kicking off was, remember, there's a guy with a knife. Yeah. And it turned out he had a beard and stuff.
Yeah.
He sort of looked like it could be another thing. It turned out to just be like a crazy guy or whatever. Yeah. But that was and obviously you got a crowd on edge. Yeah. And I think a lot of people in Britain like they've seen their country change an awful lot, and they've seen, you know, people come in and there's no integration, there's no sort of, okay, you're British now, this is what you do. It's like, oh, you can just do what you want, and you know the authorities will look the other way while you go around committing, you know, horrific crimes. So I think a lot of that, we've got decades of that sort of bubbling up in this as well.
Yeah, and look, and this is an entirely toxic mixture which is created, and we've got to be fair to Labour as well. A lot of this has been created by the Conservative government,
who basically are Labour.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't really see much difference between, you know, the 14 years of the Tories we had and, you know, Tony Blair.
Oh no, yes,
or
but
Keir Starmer.
or, you know, rubbing the rights faces in diversity, which was a famous statement. But no, but I think Conservatives are worse, and I'll tell you why. Because in the words of Kemi Badenoch, we talked right but governed left.
Yeah.
So what they did effectively is gaslight a nation for 14 years, which is unforgivable. Say what you like about Labour, but they're pretty honest about what they think and their policies. They're openly talking about having blasphemy laws, for instance, which I think is abhorrent, evil and wrong.
Yeah.
But they're kind of open about it.
Yeah, yeah.
Whereas the Conservatives are worse because they're like, no, we're conservative, but here's all these progressive liberal policies.
Yeah.
And you go, well, I mean, that's terrible. That's terrible. And that's why the Conservatives are bankrupt and completely in the political wilderness, which they absolutely deserve to be.
Yeah.
So for me, the Conservatives are worse than Labour.
Yeah.
Because at least with Labour, there's a modicum of honesty and integrity there.
Yeah.
Whatever you think about their demented policies, which I disagree with the vast majority of them.
Yeah, yeah. And I think, you know, the only realistic alternative to what we've had, this sort of uniparty, is reform. And people, you know, people in this country, the weird thing is, like, a lot of people in this country are like, oh, they're far right or whatever. Man, if you compare reform to like the AFD or whatever, reform, and like by the time reform get elected, like they're going to be probably one of the most left-leaning parties in Europe.
Yeah. You know, I mean, you know, like, I'll be honest with you, I find, as a man who looks slightly Jewish, I find the AFD very worrying.
Really?
Yeah. German nationalism? I'm like, we've tried it once before, Hans. It didn't end well.
No, you know what was tried before that didn't end well was stripping away any nationalism from German people and, you know, putting them on the bottom economically, culturally, spiritually. And that's what gave Hitler the sort of impetus to rise.
Yeah.
That's, you know, the reparations they had to pay after World War I and the complete degeneracy of the Weimar era, you know, that's what gave Hitler his fuel.
Yes.
And we're, you know, people are like, oh, the Nazis are so bad. It's like, why are you recreating the Weimar era? Why are you recreating this, like, you know, economically destitute, completely socially degenerate era? It's not going to end well.
Well, you know, I always found this very interesting. I don't know if we talked about it on this podcast. You don't like football because you're gay.
No,
but,
it's boring.
But
even if I was straight, I wouldn't like it.
But there's a very famous German footballer called Tony Kroos.
Right.
I don't know if you've followed this story.
Why has he got a British name?
No, it's Kroos.
Right.
Yeah.
Like a kid spelling it.
Yeah, exactly. And Real Madrid, I think it was Real Madrid captain, German football team captain, won the World Cup with Germany, national team hero, but a national hero. And when he retired last season at the age of 34. And they asked him, Tony, are you going to come back to Germany? And he said, no, I'm not going to raise my kids in Germany because Germany isn't the country of my childhood.
Yeah.
10 years ago, that would have got you cancelled. Adidas would have walked away. Your sponsorship, blah, blah, blah. He's an evil, he's a Nazi. Now, it wasn't even a story. And the only reason I know it's a story because I'm still a football fan. And Tony Kroos is a legend of German soccer. A legend of German soccer.
So when people like that are starting to notice the problem and are allowed to notice the problem, I think, and funny enough, I saw a documentary about Germans, and this is going back a few years, a BBC documentary, Germans moving to Paraguay because they didn't like what was happening to Germany.
There's precedent for that.
But they
there's precedent for Germans moving to South America, mate.
Great grandfather.
yes, okay, we now must leave. We must create our own German society in South America.
But Paraguay, it's a Christian country, whatever. It's nice climate. It's relatable to Germany. It's got mountains and all the rest of it. It's got a lot of Nazi gold. There's lots of things. There's a lot of things that the Germans can do. But interviewing them, it was interesting. They interviewed this German couple who they're like, why are you moving to Paraguay? And they're like,
Ich finde, es geht darum, dass es einfach nur geregelt werden sollte, die Einwanderung. Es muss ja bedacht werden, wie viele Einwanderer kommen herein. Und das muss ja mit diskutiert werden mit der Bevölkerung.
Dieses Land Paraguay ist, so wie wir jetzt es erlebt haben, sehr christlich. Und wir kommen auch aus einer christlichen Kultur. Wir haben ganz tolle Nachbarschaft und viele Leute kennengelernt, mit denen wir auf einer Ebene agieren können. In Deutschland nicht so stattfinden kann. Ja, das ist auch so, dass im Allgemeinen die Muslime so provokativ vorgehen. Ja, nee, das muss vielleicht auch nicht gefilmt werden. Das wird zu arg, ja, das wollen wir nicht. Wie ich mich jetzt über die Muslime äußere, ja, das ist vielleicht zu stark.
Ja.
Ja.
Neuen Deutschen haben ganz andere Gründe. Sie wollen ihre Kinder schützen. Ja, die werden vergewaltigt, die werden belästigt auf offener Straße. Ja, weil sie nicht sich verhüllt haben. Sie sind nicht verhüllt und eine deutsche Frau ist nichts wert.
But that is a strong accusation. Do you have or do they have any evidence of that?
Nein, das sind nur meine Leute, die es mir erzählt haben.
What would you say to people who think that argument is racist, that you are being racist?
Du bist schwarz, weiß, gelb, rot. Es ist nur wichtig, das Herz und der Respekt vor jeder Kultur.
and then the wife's all like, oh no, don't say that because we'll get in trouble. And it's like there's a real like tension and anxiety around just being honest about the reason they were moving. And I think one of the good things about Elon Musk is he's allowed people to speak more freely and allowed just populations to sort of express something that before we were allowed to speak freely, there was this sort of manufactured consent that diversity is strength, multiculturalism is no flaws, and now that's all sort of stripped away.
I think, look, there comes a point where the delusion has to meet with the reality.
Yeah.
Your delusion, you can't live in a delusional frame of mind forever. It's like addiction. You come to a point with addiction where you either give up what it is that you're doing, you hit rock bottom as it's called, and then you become sober and you save your own life, or you carry on and you die. And I think that's kind of where we're getting to.
Yeah.
You can live in this delusional world of net zero, of open borders, of all of these demented, there's no such thing as male or female.
Yeah.
A bloke can just put a wig on, put some lippy on, be a 2-time rapist, have access to a women's prison.
Yeah.
What's the problem with that?
It's a religion, you know what I mean? It's not a belief that's substantiated by fact.
But it's a power of ideology. I always thought to myself, I remember being a kid and going, oh, the Nazis would never happen again. Nazism would never happen again because people now are more sensible, sane and rational. I remember literally having that thought in a history class when I was like 10, 11 years old. And then you just see Penny Mordaunt get in Parliament go, trans women are women. And you go, oh, okay, yeah, I get it. Do you know, I get it.
But I think part of the problem is because we had a good few decades of just sort of economic expansion, low inflation, they're nice, non-inflationary, constant expansion. So and socially, liberal, and we weren't seeing the negative impacts. They weren't really aware. The population wasn't aware of things like grooming gangs and stuff like that. Because things were so good, all the smart people who'd like normally run things back in the day, like your Disraelis or whatever, they were away like making money and having fun. Yeah. And you can see this in America now. They sort of let the lefties, all these sort of like ideological theatre kids run everything, and they obviously completely ballsed it up. So now, the smart people are coming back. Musk is really involved in politics, and I think there's something to say. People say, "Oh, we should keep billionaires out of politics." It's like, no, billionaires are the smartest guys. In fact, people are like, billionaires should pay more tax. Billionaires should pay no tax. you know why?
Why,
if you give money to the government, that money just gets fucking wasted. And if it's not wasted, it's spent on stuff that actively makes your life worse, like making everybody communist, or like, holding grooming gangs' dicks while they rape. You know what I mean? It's literally the government like enables horrific stuff. If you give that money to Elon Musk, he's going to invest it in stuff that's going to make the world amazing. You know what I mean? Billionaires have already shown that they can get the best return on the investment, because that's how they became billionaires. So I'm saying we should increase tax on poor people and give it to the billionaires.
There you go. What about Bill Gates?
Not him. Not him. Only the billionaires I like.
Only the billionaire, not Bill Gates.
I mean, fairness to Bill Gates. I mean, I think he's done it. He's done a lot to make the world a better place. Sorry, I can see everybody turning off right now.
Yeah.
Pew 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 pew.
Yeah.
Like, take me out. But Bill Gates trying to stop malaria, trying to stop HIV. Like, those are things that should be stopped.
Yeah,
really.
by giving vaccines that cause autism. He's making the world autistic, Leo.
Hey, but look at me. No malaria.
Yeah, I'm now incapable of understanding emotion because of a vaccine. But yeah, look, I don't know. It seems that America has woken up.
Yeah.
It seems that America has woken up. The one thing I think that is going to be the real challenge to the MAGA movement isn't going to be the Dems. It's going to be, are you going to be able to hold these broad coalition of people together?
Yeah.
You look at RFK Jr., right? You look at Trump. You look at Musk. You look at Tulsi. You look at all of these people.
The defense guy, Pete. What's he called? I can't remember. Hegseth. Yeah. These are all like big, strong characters. And they're kind of a bit mental and loose cannons as well.
Yeah. And then you got Trump on top of that. And so you're going, actually, is this going to work as a political movement when you don't actually share the same ideology?
Yeah, no, that's a fair point. I mean, I guess the thing that would save them from that is like Trump can just fire people. And he does fire people.
Yeah. But it's very interesting. You've already seen over I'm used as HB1s or whatever they're called. Vivek Ramaswamy's already been pushed to the side.
Yeah.
Like nobody's really talking about that, but Vivek was front and center of the Doge of getting Trump elected.
Yeah.
He's pretty much been marginalized.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's interesting that Musk wasn't, even though Musk was saying pretty much the same thing about the H-1B visas. He was saying like, we need more of them. I don't know if that's because
it's because Vivek made it personal as well.
Right.
So there was like, he was saying, basically you need to be more like Asian parents and blah, blah, blah. And, like slap your kid and fucking get them to do some maths.
The whole point of being American is you don't need to be like an Asian parent, but you succeed anyway.
Yeah. But
it's like the Homer Simpson model.
Well, yeah, exactly. So, and that obviously upset the MAGA movement. So,
right.
And I think what happened there is that a decision was made just to marginalize him.
Right. Well, fair enough.
Yeah.
Did you see the New York, not the New York Post, New York Times do this front cover? Or the New Yorker. Is this the New York Times?
It's the New
York Magazine, New Yorker.
Yeah.
So the cruel kids table. This is like a party at the inauguration or whatever, and it's they're trying to say like, oh, these people are horrible and cruel and stuff like that.
And white.
And it's like they don't look horrible. Man, look at, like, she's objectively fit. They all look like happy and young, and you know what I mean? Like they're having a great time. It's like that's kryptonite to the left. Young people having fun instead of trying to cut their own balls off.
You know the real issue with that photograph?
They cropped it to misrepresent it. Look at this. I've got the picture. I've got the full picture of what they cropped it out from. So they tried to make it look as if there's no like black people. It was just white people at the party. In fact, look, there's loads.
Yeah.
There's like two sort of ethnic looking guys. There's another ethnic guy. There's another like properly black guy.
I mean, there's some great boobs in that picture.
Look at that.
Absolutely
You know,
outstanding.
that's why they put that rack on the. And she's probably going to be the next Hawk Tuah girl. She's going to get an amazing podcast out of this.
I mean, she is absolutely stunning.
I can't comment because I'm married.
Mate, she absolutely make America great again, mate.
It's just nice to see happy young people who aren't encumbered by guilt and socialism. You know what I mean?
You know, but that's the thing. It's like, you know, like there's so, you know, when you're hanging out with people in the left, like they're all so fucking miserable. They're just so miserable.
Yeah, and they're all like,
I'm not.
And it's always someone else's fault as well. Have
Yeah.
you noticed that? Well, with leftists, they're always like, oh, it's the government's fault that I've got a small penis and I don't earn any money. It's like, no, it's your fucking fault. You could try jelking.
Yeah.
Have you heard of jelking? It's when you squeeze the tip of your penis and pull it to make your penis longer. It's a real thing. It's a real thing, Francis. It's a real thing. Francis is going to be trying that later on.
No,
And
do you know
on the podcast?
You know, it's come to the point now where I'm like, people have said to me openly, said like, you seem to hate young people. You need to stop it. And I go, you know what? I actually agree with you. I need to show more empathy to them. And then you say things like this, and then I'm like, this is why I fucking hate them.
I don't know how I know what jelking is. There's also gooning, which is when you just masturbate all day.
And you don't come.
And you don't come. Oh,
No.
that's tantric.
Yeah. So you get to the
Tantric
point of
sex.
ejaculation, then you stop, but you maintain the
How do you
sensation.
do that?
I don't know. Haven't you got a fucking job?
I've got lots of jobs.
Exactly.
Oh, you mean them?
Yeah.
Oh, not me.
No,
I thought
you
you were
just
I thought you were just angry because I'd found out about this.
No, I'm just like, fucking, you can't.
Yeah. Well,
You
no, they don't
can't-
have a job. And this is the thing. This is like when people are like, we need mass immigration because the jobs need to be filled. What about young people? We get young people, stop them touching their dicks and get them in those jobs. That's what we used to do.
Yeah.
Get a job in McDonald's.
Yeah.
Or something.
Exactly. Stop touching your knob. You've heard it here.
Also, the other place we can get people to work, the government. So many people work in the government doing completely useless, unproductive stuff.
Yeah, it's
And then
pointless.
just fire them and then they can go into these jobs. So that's the end of the public version of Clown World with Francis Foster. To see the extra time, like Baywatch nights, you got to sign up to my Patreon and see the extra stuff where we talk about, we go a bit off the track, say stuff you couldn't normally say in polite society. So sign up to my Patreon, there's a link below. Give me money.
Make sure to come to the shows the 4th and 11th of February.
The 4th and 11th of February, we're doing live stand-up comedy shows in Hammersmith, in London, at the Hammersmith Comedy Club. Not the Apollo, it's across the road from the Apollo.
Yeah.
If we sell enough tickets, we might do the Apollo, but we haven't sold enough tickets. So come to Hammersmith Comedy Club and see us do comedy. It's going to be fun.
Very close to Hammersmith Apollo geographically.
Yeah, there's a ticket link below. There's a link to tickets below. Click on it. Thank you, bye.